Hey, what's going on out there? I'm Sean Devine. Hope you all are doing well. It's been a minute since I posted a video. Had a lot going on. I got married, amongst other things, but it's good to be back. And we've got something that I think you all are going to find quite interesting today. It's called Space Replicator from Lewitt. I have to tell you that I came into this with quite a bit of hesitation and just skepticism because I don't personally and professionally use a lot of room correction or monitor correction. The promise of Space Replicator is that it will accurately replicate the playback systems and environments that you would normally reference your mixes and masters. So we're talking about maybe a commercial studio, the car, the nightclub, the living room on your smartphone or your laptop, Bluetooth speakers, tablets, and even the TV speakers or a sound bar. So it just rolls all of that up into a plugin. Now this is specifically designed to simulate these environments for headphones, and they have a lot of different models here. We're going to talk about, can Space Replicator completely change the way we reference our mixes and masters outside of the studio? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, everything in between. Let's dive in. Space Replicator is to be placed as the last plugin in your stereo or your master bus. You want to first select your headphone. The headphones that are on my head, which are the Sony M1, they are not currently available. Hopefully they will be in the future. They do have the MV1, which is an open back, but I'm going to swap these out for another pair that I actually use more often for my mixing and mastering critical listening, which are the 700 Pro X from Beyerdynamic. Chances are you're going to be able to find your headphones here. There's a lot of popular models, pretty exhaustive list. Second thing we want to do is build our binaural profile. And this is going to personally cater the binaural response to give us the best realism. Select your headphone model from the list here once again, and it's going to give us two different samples, and we'll just play these back, and you're going to choose which one you prefer. They're not that different, so you need to listen pretty closely. The most important thing here is for you just to stay consistent in picking the one that sounds the best to you. Once we go through 10 rounds, it will then give us 3 samples that are potentially suitable, and we're going to pick the best of those. So I'm going to go with B. I think that one has the best imaging and a little more of a clear top end to it and less sort of smeary. We'll call this Sean Devine Test. And this should now show up under our profiles. Let me click refresh here. And there it is, Sean Devine Test. One other thing that I highly recommend you do is to turn on this safe headroom switch. With this plugin in particular, I found that not only just the integrity of what you're hearing, but also just avoiding distortion and some unwanted artifacts, using safe headroom sounded better across the board in all of these. Let's bypass it, and then we'll check out some of the different spaces here. This track is by Skymax. The song is called Aftermath, so I'll put a link in the description if you like it and you want to check it out. If you are primarily mixing in headphones and you want to get more of that speaker perspective, these could be more helpful for you. I'd say the Vienna was the best out of these top 3 to me, with both the far field and the midfield options really helpful. This one over here on the right was a little bass heavy to me on every session that I tried it on. Just sounded a little muddy. If you're really lacking on bass in the headphones, this might be helpful. But again, I just felt like it was a really low end heavy for most things I was testing it with. Moving down here to arguably one of the most important spaces that you're going to be utilizing for referencing outside the studio, and that's the car. I cannot tell you how many times I am going back and forth between the studio and the car. The more you do this, the more you get an idea of how things are going to translate. Unfortunately, if you are newer to mixing and mastering and producing, when you take your stuff out to the car, it's going to throw you for some loops and some unpleasant surprises. Having a reference to save you some trips, that might be helpful, right? We've got some different perspectives. Let's listen to it. That's pretty cool. First impression when I tried this out was I'm definitely getting that sensation like when you're in the car and the speakers are kind of sitting below your ears in most cars. It kind of has this like smeary sort of phasey effect. I don't know what kind of car this is. I don't know if maybe I'm just not a big fan of like, is this a Honda or something? Maybe I don't like Honda stereos or car speakers. And I tried switching to like the default binaural profile, and I was still kind of having the same sensation. So not to say that this is not helpful, because it definitely does that thing where you do kind of get the sensation that you're sitting in the car. The low end has that punch coming from the door speakers. I do really like that you've got these 4 different perspectives. I just felt like the overall just kind of fidelity, the detail was a little bit lacking there. Now, I did test this out with some sessions with vocals, and I do feel like that was more helpful in terms of just getting a feel for where the beat and the vocal were sitting overall. What I would say is I hope that maybe Lewitt will introduce maybe some different car models, some different speakers there that have a little bit crisper sound. That's just my preference. Let's check out the Watergate Club, especially for an EDM track like this. That's really cool. I like that. When I switched over to the DJ booth, I don't know if they've got like some big floor sub back there. I almost had a little bit of that sensation in the headphones. Most of us are not going to be able to just hop into a nightclub and reference our mixes. I think the ambience and the low end, to me, that sounds very realistic. That may be one of the best models of the nightclub that I've heard. So if you're doing EDM, or you're doing like some bass heavy records, hip hop, R&B, club stuff, I'm impressed with that one for sure. Got to have the living room smartphone 15. I don't know if maybe that's this one, but that's exactly what I reference on here. So it's good to have that. We've got some other models. You can take a guess at what these represent. Laptop Pro, I do that as well on my laptop. So let's hear those. I do try to reference on the phone, and that's pretty accurate in terms of just the limited frequency response. A lot of times I'm just trying to hear what that high mid section is going to sound like on the phone. Sometimes you get these weird resonances, and so it's helpful to be able to hear it through that smaller driver. So you see I've starred these other 2 studios, and to me, these just sound a little bit more like the space that I generally work out of. And this one's just a little tighter, a little crisper than some of these bigger spaces up here. So let's take a listen to Studio B. I just really prefer that Vienna Stage B as far as like that larger console studio sound. To me, it just sounded the most realistic and a little tighter. And then the Lewitt Studio B is kind of like your, typical sort of project space like I've got here. That just seems more familiar to me. So I starred those because those are my favorite of the like the bigger rooms. Moving over to the kitchen, I'm constantly referencing on this thing right here, which, do you think that that's what they intended with this? I don't know. Let's check it out. Yeah, so I'm definitely using that one because sometimes the battery on this thing is dead. I leave it on by accident. That one's going to be really useful. Very realistic there. Let's try the TV last. The ones that I actually would use, let's say we did the car, we did my phone, we did a Bluetooth speaker, and then I usually do my TV speaker. That's at least 4 that I'm going to reference on. A lot of these sound really close to the real thing. Now, I didn't really touch on the headphone section because you can translate these to different headphones, but I just found like even with these HPods Pro, in my test, they just didn't sound the same, and I'm really used to these. So another reference that I wanted to mention for me is that these are constantly getting used, and I'm not sure why this just didn't translate as well to me. But again, maybe that's something they can improve upon. And honestly, maybe this was an older model. Maybe they'll get the newer model. I think I have a newer AirPod, so who knows? I will definitely keep y'all posted though, and keep an eye on the updates rolling out from Lewitt. Now, just a quick note, if you've gone through all of your references and then you bounce it, but for some reason you forgot to turn this off, it does have an auto bypass on render function so that you're not going to be sending this out to your client or taking it out to the car and finding out that it sounds kind of strange. My overall honest take on this is if you are primarily mixing in headphones, or maybe you're in a less than perfect acoustic space, you haven't treated your room at all, or you're on smaller monitors where you're not getting a lot of low end, this is going to definitely be helpful for you, especially as you're learning how things translate in your mixing and mastering outside of the studio. It is not about just getting it to sound good from your perspective on your playback system, on your monitors, whether you have expensive monitors or inexpensive monitors, you're going to have to hear it referenced on these different things. And so this gives you a lot of options. And my hope would be that Lewitt might expand this. Maybe they'll add some different models here and some different environments that will bring even more helpful perspectives. So if you're interested in mixing and mastering more efficiently and having all of these different reference spaces and speakers at your fingertips, head over to lewitt-audio.com. I will put a link in the description so you can check it out for yourself. There's a fully functional 14-day free trial. I know how frustrating it can be when you go out to the car or you play it on a different speaker and you go, what happened to my mix or my master? It sounds totally different. I truly believe that Space Replicator will get rid of some of that guesswork for you. I know it has for me thus far in my sessions, and excited to see where they take this technology moving forward. Thanks so much for watching. Much love to you all. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Please like and subscribe for more plugin demos and reviews like this. We'll talk to you soon.